The royal family is often seen as calm, organized, and surrounded by traditions that keep everything in balance. Sandringham, one of the most famous royal estates, has always been a place that represents warmth, family gatherings, and peaceful afternoons away from the cameras. On this particular winter day, everything looked perfect on the surface. The tables were neatly set with silver cutlery. The halls were filled with the scent of fresh flowers, and the entire setting carried the weight of royal history. Children laughed, family members greeted each other. And for a moment, the monarchy seemed more like any other family spending time together. But behind the smiles and polite conversations, there was tension in the air. Sometimes, even in the most beautiful surroundings, emotions run high, and one wrong word can change everything. This day began like a carefully planned family afternoon, but ended as a moment that would be quietly remembered inside palace walls for years to come. It all started with something very small, an innocent question from young Princess Charlotte. Children often ask questions that adults never think about. For Princess Charlotte, who was exploring the winter gallery of Sandringham, the paintings, chairs, and grand furniture were not just decorations, but mysteries waiting to be solved. She stopped in front of a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, looking elegant and powerful, and noticed a throne-like chair placed beneath it. With her natural curiosity, Charlotte asked Queen Camilla a simple question. Had her great-grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth, ever sat in that chair? To most people, the question would have seemed sweet and innocent. It was a child's way of connecting history to her family. But for reasons no one fully understood, Camilla took the question differently. Her expression hardened, and instead of smiling and answering kindly, she gave a sharp reply. She told Charlotte that the chair was not for playing, and that it was part of royal history, not hers to fuss over. The tone of her words carried no warmth, only coldness. For a young child, it was shocking. Charlotte froze, unsure how to react, while the staff and guests nearby noticed the sudden change in the atmosphere. What should have been a harmless moment was now something heavier, and the tension in the room was impossible to ignore. Camilla's words did not stop there. Instead of softening her tone, she raised her voice slightly, telling Charlotte that she may be a princess, but that she was not the authority on everything she saw. To many in the room, it seemed far too harsh for a child's simple curiosity. Staff members exchanged uneasy glances, and even guests who were in the middle of quiet conversations stopped to listen. Charlotte, who was usually confident and cheerful, stood still with her hands folded in front of her. She did not cry, but her silence spoke volumes. The weight of Camilla's words was not lost on anyone present. For years, Camilla had carried the pressure of being compared to the late Princess Diana, and many felt that she sometimes reacted strongly out of insecurity. But no one expected her to snap at a child in such a way, especially Charlotte, who had only asked about her great-grandmother. The gallery, usually a place of calm reflection, now felt heavy with unease. It was at this very moment that Catherine, Princess of Wales, returned from another room. Without needing an explanation, she understood what had just happened. The entire room waited to see how she would respond, and her next move would change. Everything. Catherine entered the gallery quietly, but her presence was immediately felt. She saw her daughter standing still, her cheeks flushed, and she saw Camilla, stiff and defensive. Without raising her voice, Catherine walked straight to Charlotte, knelt down, and gently asked if she was all right. The young princess gave a small nod, clearly comforted by her mother's presence. Catherine then stood and faced Camilla. At first, she said nothing, allowing the silence to grow heavier. Everyone in the room knew something important was about to happen. Finally, Catherine spoke in a calm but firm tone. She said that boundaries were important, but they should never be set by belittling a child's voice. Her words were not loud, but they carried a weight stronger than any shout. The air in the room shifted immediately. Catherine had not only defended Charlotte, but had also drawn a line in how children in the royal family should be treated. It was a powerful reminder that kindness and respect are just as important as tradition. Camilla, taken aback, tried to dismiss the moment as a misunderstanding, but Catherine's quiet strength left no room for excuses. Catherine's response echoed far beyond that room. She reminded everyone present that Charlotte's question was not misbehavior, was curiosity, a sign of intelligence and connection to her family's history. By calmly stating this, Catherine shifted the entire meaning of the moment. It was no longer about a child being scolded for asking too much. It became about how the next generation of royals should be nurtured and respected. Her words struck deeply, not because they embarrassed anyone, but because they carried truth. Many staff members later whispered Catherine's exact line, "Boundaries. Yes, but not by belittling a child's voice." It was a sentence that captured the essence of her leadership style, firm but compassionate. The silence that followed, in the gallery, was unforgettable. Camilla, who was used to controlling conversations, was left with no reply. Catherine and Charlotte walked out hand in hand, leaving behind a moment that would be quietly remembered by everyone in attendance. In that instant, Catherine showed that true strength does not come from raising your voice, but from speaking the truth with calm certainty. Later that evening, when Prince William returned from his royal duties, Catherine shared the story with him. She spoke without exaggeration, simply explaining what had happened, how Charlotte asked a question, and how Camilla had reacted harshly. William listened carefully, knowing immediately the weight of the situation. He told Catherine that she had done the right thing, not just as a mother, but as a future queen. For William, the moment was also personal. He remembered his own mother, Princess Diana, who had often been silenced or dismissed in similar halls. He knew the importance of standing up for children and ensuring they never felt voiceless. The next morning, William acted with quiet precision. He spoke privately with Camilla, away from the public and the staff, in a conversation that lasted nearly 20 minutes. No one knew the exact words exchanged, but the effect was clear. From that point forward, Camilla kept her distance, and Charlotte was treated with greater warmth and care by those around her. William and Catherine's unity sent a strong message. Their children would never be left unprotected inside the palace. The incident did not become a public scandal, but it did set off important discussions. Senior staff members met discreetly to talk about what had happened. They reviewed how children should be spoken to during formal and informal events, and some even suggested updating guidelines about emotional boundaries. For many, Catherine's response raised the standard of behavior expected within the royal household. Her actions showed that being royal was not just about tradition and appearances, but also about respect and compassion. Camilla, meanwhile, continued her public duties as if nothing had happened. But those close to her noticed she was more cautious afterward. She understood that she had crossed a line, not just with Charlotte, but with the future queen. Staff members who had once been unsure of Catherine's leadership now admired her more. They saw in her a quiet strength that reminded them of the values Diana once stood for, but carried in Catherine's own unique way: calm, steady, and protective. The moment at Sandringham may never appear in official records, but for those who witnessed it, it marked a turning point. Catherine proved that leadership is not about loud authority, but about quiet conviction. She showed that protecting a child's dignity is just as important as protecting the crown. For Charlotte, the memory of that day carried a powerful lesson. Her voice mattered, and her mother would always defend her. For the monarchy, it was a reminder that the future would be shaped not only by traditions, but also by compassion and empathy. Catherine's words, gentle but firm, challenged an old way of thinking that valued silence over truth. She showed that kindness is not weakness, and that even in the most powerful families, children deserve respect. In doing so, she redefined what royal strength means for a new generation. The story of Catherine's calm defense of her daughter may not be told in history books, but it will live on in the hearts of those who saw it. It was not a scandal, it was a moment of truth, and one that revealed the quiet power of a future queen. Asterisk. What happened that day at Sandringham was not just a small family disagreement. It symbolized a much larger change in the royal family. In past generations, children were expected to remain silent, to be seen but not heard. Questions like Charlotte's would have been brushed aside or even considered disrespectful. But Catherine's calm defense of her daughter showed that times are different now. Today's royals, especially William and Catherine, are raising their children with a sense of openness and respect that was not always present in palace life. They want George, Charlotte, and Louis to grow up confident, thoughtful, and unafraid to express themselves. This is a very different approach from the strict upbringing William himself experienced, where emotions were often hidden and difficult questions went unanswered. Catherine's parenting style is not only modern but also deeply human. By standing up for Charlotte, she showed that the monarchy is moving toward a future that values honesty, empathy, and the dignity of even its youngest members. To understand the tension better, it is important to look at Camilla's position. She has carried heavy burdens for decades. For much of her life, she was seen as the other woman in Prince Charles's marriage to Diana. Even after becoming queen consort, she still faces judgment from the public, many of whom never fully accepted her role. This long history of criticism may explain why she sometimes reacts strongly, even in moments that don't call for it. When Charlotte asked about the throne, Camilla may have felt it touched a sensitive nerve, perhaps reminding her of her own complicated path to the crown. Instead of answering with warmth, she allowed her insecurities to take over. While this does not excuse her sharpness toward a child, it does shed light on the deeper struggles she faces. The incident reminded everyone that royals, despite their titles, are still human beings with flaws and vulnerabilities. Those who know Princess Charlotte often describe her as lively, bright, and confident. Unlike her older brother George, who was more reserved, Charlotte has a playful boldness that shines through in public appearances. She waves at crowds with energy, chats with people openly, and is not afraid to show her personality. Her question in the gallery was just another sign of her natural curiosity and intelligence. Instead of being embarrassed by the moment, she held herself with surprising strength for a child her age. Though Camilla's words were sharp, Charlotte did not burst into tears or run away. She stayed still, quietly waiting for her mother. This shows not only her own resilience, but also the kind of support and grounding she receives from Catherine and William. With parents who encourage questions and defend their children's voices, Charlotte is likely to grow into a strong, confident young woman. In many ways, she reflects the future of the monarchy, one where honesty and individuality are not seen as weaknesses but as strengths. For many who witnessed the incident, the memory of Princess Diana quietly surfaced. Diana was known for her warmth, her compassion, and her fierce love for her sons. She often put their emotional well-being above the rigid rules of royal tradition. Catherine's response that day felt like a continuation of that legacy. She may not have raised her voice or caused a scene, but her quiet firmness carried the same protective energy that Diana once embodied. Observers later remarked that it was almost as if Diana's influence was still present, guiding Catherine to shield Charlotte with dignity. This connection between past and present is powerful. It shows that Diana's values live on in her son's family, shaping the way William and Catherine raise their children. For many people, this is deeply reassuring. It suggests that the monarchy is learning from the past and moving toward a kinder, more human-centered way of life. The Sandringham moment may have seemed small, but it carries big lessons for the monarchy. Catherine's calm defense of Charlotte showed that the royals can adapt to the modern world, where empathy and respect are just as important as tradition. It also reminded people that leadership is not only about public speeches and ceremonies, but about the choices made in private, intimate moments. As future queen, Catherine is setting a tone for how the monarchy will be led in the years ahead. Her ability to combine grace with firmness, kindness with authority, shows that she is ready to guide the institution into a new era. For the public, this incident only increased admiration for her. Many already see Catherine not just as a royal figure, but as a role modeler, mother, a leader, and a symbol of quiet strength. The story of Sandringham will not fade quickly because it represents something larger, a glimpse of the monarchy's future, shaped by compassion and courage. **